So it's Monday the 20th of May and KTM has already released the EXC Enduro range. So the KTM XC range has been radically redefined, and they have a new generation of motorbike ready to go and available from the beginning of June by the dealers. They have a lineup of 2-stroke and 4-stroke machines, and it's unbelievable, but we are talking about 14 models, and around the 2-strokes 300cc engine they have built 3 different machines. You will see that there is the standard TPI, there is the Erzbergrodeo version, and there is the 6 days. It's an unbelievable effort from the leading company into the enduro range in order to strengthen up their leadership, which also is developed is helped in the development by top riders of the Red Bull KTM team. So we will present the main models, of course 2 strokes, the 250 2 strokes and the 350 2 strokes in the 3 different versions, but we will also go through the presentation of the 4 strokes models, the 250, the 350, the 450 and the unbeatable 500 4 strokes. These machines are really a new step forward. It's interesting to see how many small and also radical changes have been done to the whole range model. We will go through whatever has been done in the chassis, we will go through whatever has been done in the engine, and the effort is unbelievable. Not only they have worked out and done the usual small setup and improvements in the chassis or in the suspension, which still are the WP Explorer, offering new handling, new bodywork, but they've done really some work also in very important areas, especially in the engines. Anyway, the whole set of motorbikes can leverage, as I said, the WP Explorer suspension with some new setup and a completely redesigned neck and handlebar, the confirmed Brembo brakes and the no dirt foot pegs, but also fantastic CNC milled hubs with giant rims, as they call them. Honestly, I try to destroy most of them, but I've not been able, not even in Africa Race Rally. Anyway, these combinations make the KTM EXC model year 2020 a real top performing and the most extreme enduro bike wanted on the market. So let's begin. KTM 500 EXCF and 450 EXCF, which is also available into the 6 days version. We will try to focus on the differences from the previous year models, and we'll talk about these 2 bikes together because they share the same project and the same designs, the same engine base, and of course the same frames, suspensions and accessories. The main difference between the 2 bikes is in the cubic centimeters on the engine, but the rest is exactly the same. So let's go through an overview of these bikes. Of course, the 500 is an E3 class machine, which is typically used also by rally riders who don't want to spend as much as is requested by a rally replica, so they buy the 500 for the unbelievable torque that offers, and add to this bike any kind of kit developing a rally machine, which are quite interesting because they are super handling and very light, rallyable, and with massive torque, which can compete against rally replica engine. Or for those lovers of 4 strokes which don't like the 2-stroke feeling for the E3 class. But it's also, the 500 is also a bike which is intended, believe it or not, for the beginners, thanks to the torque and the very smooth mapping that has been already developed since many years ago, So it's not only for the super mega hyper Ironman, but even for the beginners who cannot change the gears so easily in tricky conditions. So it's a very interesting bike. The 450 is the typical E2 racing machine. But let's try to understand what KTM has done on these 2020 versions, because it's more. It's really more than an evolution. It's almost a revolution. Well, it's not exactly a revolution, come on, but yes, they did a massive work, because we are talking about motorbikes which are around 105 kilograms, which is 10 kilos less than the generation of 6 years ago, which is, it's almost unbelievable. So the engine has been reworked. Let's begin from the cylinder head, which, believe it or not, has been reduced by 500 grams. It's half a kilo. I have no idea how they could do it just on this piece. So this is valid for both the 500 and the 450 engines. So they both work with a single camshaft, and the wool part has been lowered by 15 millimeters. So by reaching one of the targets, which was clearly stated when the project has been launched, which is mass centralization. This allowing, of course, better handling to the bike. So a lot of small, and this is not exactly small changes, but all of them addressing the need of better handling through mass centralization. So the wool camshaft has been redesigned, and now it's closer to the center of gravity. It's a better axial fixation for the compressor shaft, and this allows the engine to start much easier. In order to adapt to this new cylinder head, the valves have been changed. Of course, they are shorter, but they still keep the same valve timing as the previous version. The rocker arms have also been optimized, and they are stiffer. They have a stiffer design, which allows for more constant performance throughout the RPM range of both the engines. A shorter timing for the chain and the new low friction chain guides, they both contribute to the overall reduction of weight of the two engines and a lower friction, so it means more power in the end. So what KTM have done on just on this piece is simply unbelievable, but they did not put the hands only on the head cylinder, but also on the crankshaft. So they could, KTM states that they could reposition it closer to the center of gravity. Well, if they have not redesigned the wool the wool engine, I have no idea how they could do it, but they say that they utilize a shorter connecting rod, and so this allowing the engine to be lighter with a more snappy power delivery. The bearings, they changed a bit the bearings, and with two force-fitted shells which runs directly on the crank pin. But the most of the work has been done on the lubrication system, which provides the injection of the oil on the bearings on a more precise way compared to the previous bikes, and this allowing the crankshaft to be changed with longer period, so extended service intervals. This is what KTM states, and this plain bearing allow better performance to the wool engine, which is should be lasting more. But the most of the improvement that KTM have done is in the, believe it or not, in the crankcase and engine covers. There have been several complaints in the previous years due to poor performance of the external engine covers. I mean, the riders were scraping it so easy, and the final look and the value of the bike was a little bit reduced by the fact that the bike looked very used. So they have reworked the process in which they are finishing the surface of the engine and KTM actually states that the striping is no more a problem, with a more fresh look and feel for the engine even after long and hard hours of ride. Well, this is not the part that impressed me, but they have cut by 300 grams the weight of just from the covers. So I have no idea where they could cut this weight, but KTM states that they have done a new design, again allowing a centralized shaft configuration and making the engine very short and very compact, once again contributing to the efficient centralization of masses. Yes, this engine is really a big step forward. A lot of small improvements, but which make the bike honestly a rocket, a big improvement compared to the previous one. So let's go to the chassis, and it's stiffer. They have continued the improvement of the wool chassis, and this is the area where probably they have been working the most. Let's try to understand what they have done. This is valid for all the models. Okay, now we're talking about 500 and 450, but on the wool model range is leveraging these improvements. KTM states that they have worked on the hydroformer elements in order to make a more precise shaping, and the wool welding is done now by state-of-the-art robot. So the geometries now are close to perfect, and certain areas have been redesigned with a higher lateral and longitudinal and torsional stiffness. So this is what the KTM Red Bull riders were asking, and the result is better feedback for the rider, playful handling, and improved stability. So they even have changed some little components like the laterally attached engine heads and engine head stays, and now they are made of aluminium, thus allowing much less vibration, and again contributing to precise cornering. So new design for lateral frame guard, and what is interesting is that they have done also a subframe improvement, making it extra light and more stable through aluminium profiles that have been reduced in the weight by almost 1 kilogram. Even if the wool area, the wool back of the bike is 50 millimeters longer than the previous, this giving better fender stability. Another kilogram cut off from the chassis, and it will be quite interesting to see how the competitors will be reacting to this massive work. And I'd like also to notice that the back swing guard has been also redesigned and reduced in weight. They don't state how much. This looks a little bit a marketing claim, but yes, if you look at the pictures, is a masterpiece. It's so well designed, so nice, so good looking, and the wool feeling together with the bike is absolutely great. Not to mention a lot of power parts you can add to the bike. But let's try to see what they have done. Also on the ergonomics in handlebar. The handlebar is a new Necken, fantastic black, hyper black matte, and it's now the handlebar comes with vulcanized ODI grip, which do not require any wire or glue in order to keep them in the position. And all the models 450 and 500 can be fitted with an optional ignition curve selector. It's a switch on the handlebar itself, and on the handlebar also there is the traction control optional switch, which is a feature that is helping a lot, especially in slippery condition. What to say? Another fantastic masterpiece, but the most impressive part, to be honest, is the power parts set of personalization stuff that you can include to design the bike around your specific needs. What about the foot bags? They are always the no dirt foot bags that we can find also on the SX models. Let's go to have a look at the bodywork and the graphics. Not so much change, even if they claim that they have reduced by a few grams the air filter panel, the side fairing, and both the front and the back fender. While also the air filter has been redesigned in order to perfectly fit the new mapping of the engine, which is managed by state-of-the-art KTM engine management system with full electronic fuel injection with a 42mm throttle body. So this is the same of last year. The main improvement have been done in the maps, but of course there's no other way to check how good it is if not testing the bike. What to say about the exhaust system? It's very interesting to notice that they have divided into two parts: the pipes, the front part of the exhaust system. So if you break it down or you want to clean it, now it's much easier to disassemble this whole system, while on the other hand the final part of the exhaust system is shorter, 30mm shorter, which allows again for mass centralization and gives the bike a more aggressive look. So what to say? 500 and 450 to unbelievable racing machine. You also have the 6 days version for the 450 with the usual set of accessories which characterize this version. But there's one more thing that I want to bring to your attention, and it's related to the radiators. So this cooling part has been improved a lot. There are a lot of interesting things that they've done. They redesigned completely the fluid flowing, and then they state that they have 57% bigger flowing area to go through. But not only this allows the engines to work cooler and therefore being more efficient. Also the radiators are 12mm lower, with a better design to intake the air in any kind of condition. But the thing that impressed me the most is this integration of protection systems, which is no more a power part, but is part of the radiator itself. So this allowing to dissipate much better the energy in case of crashes which were typically bending the radiators. It's a massive improvement in terms of savings and reliability, of course. KTM 350 EXC, KTM 250 EXC, both of them available in the 6 days versions, and these four bikes are analyzed together because they share the same engine project. And okay, let's continue from what we were stating about the 500 and the 450, because for example, for the frame, for the radiators, for the swing arm, for the accessories like the handlebar and the switches and so on, everything is the same that we have already said about the 500 and the 450, but the engine is different. And so KTM engineers have worked on this fantastic masterpiece, and let's start from the cylinder head. The 350 and the 250 have a reworked cylinder head design too, It's similar to the previous model, but it's 200 grams lighter. Two camshafts, yes, as usual. It's DOAC engine, and they have flow with the optimized ports and the DLC coated finger followers, as well as the lightweight valves that they actuate, allow for an increased RPMs, so which is a very important factor into these engines, which are smaller than the other engines that we've seen before, but which many times compete and even do some best timing in enduro special test. If we compare it to the improvements that they've done on the bigger engines, here the changes are less dramatic, are less radical. Therefore, all the dimensions of the head are the same, but they changed head cover and gasket, and new spark plug and spark plug connector to improve reliability, which was a little bit the problem of these engines that the top riders have highlighted on the last versions. But the dimensions are remained unchanged. The crankshaft also is a kind of masterpiece, leveraging the work that they've done on the bigger engines. They also have improved the internal oil injection on the bearing, which feature the same improvements we've seen for the bigger engine. So again, this means extended service intervals and higher efficiency, because of course the bearings now flow much easier. It's interesting to notice that the same improvement on the engine covers that we've seen on the 450 and the 500 are happening here. So 500 grams saved on different reworking of engine cases, and in this case also these covers have been received a new process for the surface treatment. Therefore, the wool engine also for the 350 and the 250 is offering much better and fresh look and feel even after strong riding. Let's go to give a look to the other parts of the motorbike. So the chassis, as for the bigger engine, has improved development process, and the clamps are in aluminium, so the engine also is giving less vibration and more precise handling to the wool structure of the motorbike. Not so big changes compared to the big engines, but only some small improvements which contribute to the better handling of the motorbike. Whatever we have said about the radiators for 450 and 500 has also been applied to the 350. So let me remind that the fan is now standard even on the standard EXC version, and they anyway have used this CFD technology, which is computational fluid dynamics, to analyze and improve the flow of the coolant. It seems that KTM is very proud about these improvements. They talk, as I said, about a cross section 57% bigger. It's massive improvement. So for sure, the engine will stay cooler, and the cooler it is, the higher is the efficiency and the power. I'm pretty sure that these small engines, which are used on the high RPMs, will be very happy to work under cooler conditions and the biggest improvement we will notice for sure when we will test these engines. Remember that these radiators are positioned 12 millimeters lower, so better handling, and they benefit by this lateral protection stuff. So they are better protected from flying rocks and debris, and disperse much better the energy around the radiators themselves in case of impact. What to say about the other stuff that is applied on the bike? It's the same on the 450 and the 500. So the WP Explore suspensions are there. They've been reworked a little bit. KTM doesn't state anything about these things for this year, so I expect that they concentrated the most on the engine and the chassis. Honestly, the amount of work is unbelievable on these versions, and the WP Explorer just benefited from basic setting and improvement into the internal setup without any rework or radical change into the development or production or usage of internal parts. Most likely they are just the same of last year, but I'm pretty sure that all these changes are enough to give a fighting machine that can go on top of the podium. And here we are to the two strokes. KTM 300 EXC TPI, 300 6 days, 300 Erzbergrodeo, very brand new version, and we will say something more about this one. And 250 EXC TPI and 250 EXC 6 days. Let's enter into the details of this fighting machine that more and more are attracting the enduro riders because of their handling and their immediate response of engine, which gives the best performance possible for extreme enduro riders. And let's try to understand how KTM has evolved these engines, which are already a benchmark for the whole category. The cylinder has been reworked. What does it mean reworked? We will never know. But honestly, it seems that this has not benefited by any main evolution, if not a better downstream injection system, two lateral domes for the cylinder featuring full injector, a bit revised, and honestly speaking, it seems that KTM has worked to reduce the emissions of the engine rather than increasing the performance. They claim a more efficient combustion and reduced fuel consumption, which already had benefited a lot in the previous version from the TPI adoption. So by leaving the carburetor and going to the injection system, KTM made the big jump, and now they are just refining the system. The main change is into the power valve unit. They've changed the internal mechanism for the lateral support exhaust ports. What does it mean? It means increased engine performance, especially on the higher RPM, and more direct response. When opening the throttle, there is this little bit delay that the TPI had introduced has been reduced to the almost zero, and of course this was the weak point of the previous engine, and they have worked to reduce this problem. But the most of the work is similar to what they've done on the 4 strokes. So even the 2-stroke is benefiting by new production process for the engine covers, which now get scrapped and used and consumed much less than before. So the value of the bike stays higher because it looks less used, and they claim to have done some small arrangement to make the center of gravity closer to the barycenter of the bike, so mass centralization. Honestly speaking, by the presentation of KTM, I have to say that the two strokes have impressed me a little bit less than the four strokes, where the improvements are clear and visible, especially on the engine side. I have to say that on the two strokes, the claims are a little bit marketing oriented. For sure, you can see that the engine was already a real masterpiece, but the change, the evolution is not so radical as on the four strokes. What is radical in terms of improvement is the gearbox. The gearbox has strongly been revised. It's of course 6-speed transmission, and the KTM claims that this gearbox has been developed in collaboration with Pankel Racing Systems. They kept the same gear ratios, but now the production is made with a stronger and forged raw material for higher reliability. KTM claims that another highlight of this 350 engine TPI transmission is in the no dirt gear shifter. Similar to the footbag design, it seems that this part of the engine has been developed to prevent the entrance of dirt, ensuring that the gearbox stays up and running under any heavy condition. So honestly speaking, I didn't hear about these problems even from top riders or weekend riders. But it seems that there was something wrong down there, and KTM states that they solved it with this year version. The most of the changes are in the chassis. The chassis, as said, for the four strokes has improved a lot because they are using a new production technology. They are using many more robots for the welding. They switch to lightweight chromoly steel frames with hydroformed elements. So the whole model range is now offering a more precise production chassis. It's better. There's a better handling from as a feedback from top riders with an improved stability. KTM states that the laterally attached engine head stays, so we are talking about the connection between cylinder head and frame, are now made of aluminium, which is allowing for less vibration and more precise cornering. The same benefit coming from the chassis is from the subframe. Now we're talking about the rear of the bike, which is made of extra light and stable aluminium profiles, 900 grams lighter than before and 40 millimeters longer for better rear fender stability. So it seems that the two strokes model are benefiting the most by the general improvement that the KTM has put in place with the complete model range, for the complete model range. For the two strokes, KTM states that the tank is now better integrated with the fuel pump system and the fuel level sensor. And finally, the 90 degrees connector for the tank offer better protection against damage. It's interesting to have a look at the exhaust system of these bikes. I don't want to enter into the details again of radiators because the same improvements that have been done on the 4-strokes are available for the 2-strokes. So this 12 millimeters lower, 57% section increase for the flowing. So even the two benefits, the two strokes are strongly benefiting by these more centralized masses and additional protection offered by these new radiators that we have already talked about. While on the other hand, the exhaust on the 2-strokes, of course, they are different, and KTM claims that they have been using an innovative 3D stamping process which produces a ripped surface finish. What does it mean? Pipe much stronger with better resistance against rocks, also helping to reduce noise drastically. Is this an improvement? I don't know. I love a lot to make a lot of noise when I'm off-road, but okay, we understand that these are bikes that must work under the circulation laws, and therefore, okay, we have to accept this as part of the game. Anyway, they claim that the silencer now features a new shape and a new end cap with reworked internal designs for any single model. The plastic silencer holder now is replaced by a lightweight welded mounting brackets, and it seems that they made it a little bit smaller and higher from the ground, so more ground clearance with a new perforated inner silencer tube for more efficient and more durable noise reduction. 200 grams saved also from the exhaust. I have no idea what will happen in 10 years. Most likely we will have bikes 50 kilograms if we go forward with all these improvements. Massive amount of power parts, of course, but what now is interesting to understand is what are we talking about when we watch at the 300 EXC TPI Erzbergrodeo. What is this motorbike different from 6 days? What's going on? Well, first of all, the look and feel, the graphics is the first thing you can notice, because instead of the black they replace it with a golden color in specific designs to celebrate 25 years of extreme. So the bike is cool for sure. You will be noticed, and there are plenty of power parts on it. Let's try to understand what is the difference. Most likely, everything comes from the accessories. It's not and the look and feel is. There are belts to pull it, both in front and in the back. There is engine protection. There is protection for the back disc, protection for the front disc. And these are the things that come most on the visible part of this motorbike. So the main difference that we can notice also is in the seat, which offers improved grip. Okay, this is a bike that has been designed to go in the Erzbergrodeo. So, and I think that the most interesting thing is that it will be produced only in 500 units. Yes, there will not be so many around. Pretty clear is that you will have a unique machine. Everybody will be looking at you, and the final value will be quite impressive. So also the clamps are the special clamps from power parts. The switches are all on board. I mean the traction control and the power selection. Therefore, this is a bike that honestly is like a 6 days with a more aggressive look and feel, and you're pretty sure that there will be only 499 around. Don't forget the nice frame, which is orange, of course. So yes, it's very aggressive bike. People will for sure look at you. So that's all. KTM did it again. Very early release of KTM 2020 enduro models. Massive improvements in engine for the 450-500. Big improvements in the process production for the whole range, and some refinings in the engine and the response of the engine, also for the 2 strokes and great aesthetic offer with the Erzberg 300 TPI 2 strokes motorbike. I'm pretty interested to try them. They look pretty cool. So let's wait when KTM will make them available, and by the dealer. You can buy it from the central part of June, wherever you are in the world.